Hello everyone and welcome back. I request you all to turn on your cameras so that we can have a live interaction, and it would be good to see everyone's faces and at least we can interact virtually. So yeah, I'll make that request. I would now like to call Sonali, our batchmate and fellow recon member, to introduce Dr. Toughness, and Sonali, you can take over.
Thank you, Darshi. So we'll be beginning with the next part of our event. Paper presentation, as we all know, is an important aspect for which writing a research paper becomes a crucial skill set. With this in mind, we will be beginning with the next part of our event, wherein we will learn about writing literature review paper, for which, with great joy, I'd like to introduce our next panel member, Dr. Daphnis Koudenaris, sir. So he's an experienced academic and the editor-in-chief of the International Journal of Export Marketing, published by Indus IS Publishers. He has presented numerous papers in world-known conferences such as EMAC, Academy of Marketing UK, AMS Annual Conference, AMS World Marketing Congress, AIB UK, Nordic Conference on Consumer Research, Nordic Conference on Small Business Research, AMA Summer Marketing Educators Conference, and the annual meeting of the Academy for Global Business. We have been fortunate for him to guide on the topic, how to write a literature review paper for the publication. Over to you, sir.
Good afternoon to all of you. So my title of my speech is Pitfalls on Publishing, Gained Experience from Journal of Business Research Reviews. The idea is that I got many reviews from JBR, and I have the rejected papers that my presentation is based on. We know very well how important it is for all of us in the academia to publish in different journals and outlets. There are, of course, some issues that we have to discuss. How to be successful in publishing, how to write papers effectively, how to increase the probability of the paper getting accepted, how to write articles getting cited, what are the most common mistakes, what should the beginners keep in mind, what are realistic expectations, what is a feasible strategy in publishing for a beginner, what is the strategy in publishing for an advanced author. So I will examine all these questions in separate slides. How to be successful in publishing. You have, of course, to choose the topic that there is a potential for novelty and contribution. Contribution is always the main issue in publishing. You have to choose a journal that you can publish your work and be always optimistic, and that your publication will be accepted based on also in the previous experience of your experience. So you must be patient and collaborate with colleagues and people at conferences possibly. Share and divide your efforts. So you can divide the efforts in different papers. So for example, one person should be responsible for the introduction and the conclusions, implications. A second person should be responsible for the theoretical background and hypothesis building. Third person should be responsible for methodology and findings. So how to write papers effectively? Of course, the solo papers are always welcomed, but of course, they need a lot of effort. Therefore, it's better to have collaborators. How to increase the probability of the paper getting accepted? So you need to target the journals that you can publish or regularly publish in these journals, rather than trying to publish in unknown high top journals. So, and of course, you have to check the manuscripts regarding the English language. How to write articles getting cited. Of course, the themes should be interesting and exciting, and you have to check previous papers in the journal to see about prolific scholars who publish in this journal. What are the most common mistakes? It's important to have a chance to check the plagiarism. Lack of contribution always is a serious problem in publishing. No research gaps, no research question, no objectives. Other mistakes might be lack of theoretical background or hypothesis, short methodology, less than a page, confused findings, tables and figures in bad shape, weak conclusions and implications, lack of limitations and future research. Those are the most common mistakes in papers. What should the beginners keep in mind? They have the beginners always should think to publish in Scopus journals, become familiar with different areas, read interesting papers in their field, read top journals regularly through Science Direct, EBSCO, Scopus, Web of Science, and other databases. Good writing skills are important, and the beginners should write short paragraphs and less than 10 lines each, and use grammatically correct sentences by using Grammarly or other tools, Turnitin and so on, tools. What's happening? Something wrong happened. Now, what are the realistic expectations for beginners? They have to publish two or three papers per year. For more experienced authors, up to 5 papers per year, and for more advanced professors, they can produce these manufacturing units and publish 10 or more papers in collaboration with other people. What is a feasible strategy in publishing for beginners? They try to publish a solo paper, one per year, in a Scopus journal. They have to think to publish 2 papers with colleagues in Scopus journals, and if they are successful, to publish in Web of Science journals. There is a list by Professor Leonidou who shows which are the problems while publishing in a journal. Be sure the introduction, you include research gaps, research questions, research objectives, and the contribution of your paper. include theoretical background, hypotheses, and also the implications, limitations, and future research. What is the strategy in publishing for an advanced author? An advanced author should publish in ABS 3 journals or ABS 4 journals, and at least to publish in ABS 1 journals, and try to develop manufacturing units. This publishing many papers per year, like Professor Leonidou and other leading professors who use these different teams of people to develop different papers on Web of Science journals. The Journal of Business Research uses a special list, and the editorial board should handle different issues about separate papers. They have to write positive and negative points in relation to each of the following issues, like the abstract, introduction, what is the contribution, research gap, research question, research objectives of the paper. Literature review should include theoretical background, hypotheses, propositions, and also the methodology should include the questionnaire, interviews, a sample, the non-response bias, common method bias. Regarding findings, they should show, for example, SEM analysis, the fit of the model statistics, reliability versus validity, convergence validity, and regarding conclusions, and theoretical and managerial implications, limitations, and future research should be also commended. References should follow the specific style of the journal, and headlines and contents of tables, figures, and appendices. And finally, an overall evaluation. Here I have 13 rejected papers sent to JBR and the reasons for their rejection. For example, one paper on knowledge strategies, there was lack of consistency and precision throughout the manuscript. Introduction and the better positioning should be clarified. Hypotheses require further work, lacks detail of substantiate and quality of the data, how the data was collected. Those are some issues regarding this paper was rejected. Plus, there were other issues like common method issues, how concepts have been measured, and the operationalization of the study. There is also lack of theoretical and empirical record, implications for the theory. So those are some issues concerning the first paper. The second paper, it was about the role of knowledge. Introduction was limited, research question was not clear, gap in literature should be better explained, theoretical contribution is dubious, definitions of key constructs are missing, hypotheses do not reveal anything new about the constructs, the sample consists of only larger firms, authors should apply SEM analysis, but they didn't. The third paper, it was on the exit of institutional investment. So the authors had problems in the literature review. The method You treat investment exit as a calculation of the difference between initial institutional investment percentage and the off percentage of institutional investment. How do you clarify? Literature and discussion on exit were missing. So those are some other issues concerning a rejected paper. Paper on innovation performance, the contribution of the study was not very clear. The findings were not new. Theory part is heavily affected by misinterpretation. Literature review was not up to date. Hypothesis development is absolutely not traceable. Also, other problems in the method, and they were also in discussion. Do not see what is new. The contribution is not clear. So those are some comments, basic comments for problematic papers. Also, there was lack of theoretical and empirical shortcomings. The fifth paper on hybrid organizations, a lot of work to be done. Comments like this: what are the contributions? Readability, needs proof reading. So those are some common things. Also long introduction, 7 pages, very descriptive, and also propositions of the conceptual models were not clear. Other problems in tables should be discussed. The tables briefly, at least in the text, and repetition. This repetitive problem is one you can find in many papers. Finally, one can see some problems in the hypothesis building, findings of that survey based on percentages rather than on more complicated analysis like SEM analysis or factor analysis. Paper on innovation and exports. There was no contribution. That's a common comment that you can find while reading these different papers. Lack of contribution, lack of hypothesis, lack of implications, lack of other issues like limitations, future research. So those are some common issues found in papers. So the list of the papers, I have 13 papers rejected by JBR. For example, here, again, the contribution of the paper in the introduction was a serious problem. The test and the fit of the model, the statistics, the estimate of statistics, not included in the feed of the model, and some other issues in the methodology. Regarding findings, reliability and validity measures, you have to include other things like regarding the statistic of CFA, of confirmatory factor analysis, or generalizability of the study, any contribution in this area, managerial theoretical implications should be developed. And the 9th paper, for example, there are similar issues about the conceptual model and methodology, unsure about the methodology adopted. They didn't clarify, the authors, about the methodology. The 10th paper has this problem of contribution, generalizability of the results, theta flow of conceptualization or methodology. The goals, the scope of Journal of Business Research is different from the paper that was submitted. So the theory also is another issue that authors should concentrate on the theoretical part, and some issues with the hypothesis development, and also different analysis. When you do moderating effects or mediating effects, you should do the proper analysis for those areas. And so all the papers have some raise different issues, and the reviewers were a bit negative to all various issues concerning these papers. So what are the concluding remarks is that when you publish papers, it's not a very easy job. Some people cannot publish and they remain teachers, and somebody has to follow a list of issues that have been published, influential issues that should be looked for, and also results. People should focus on the various rounds, and definitely the Journal of Business Research is not the easy one, one of the easiest ones, and therefore authors should consider the value of their manuscript before sending to high top journals. And of course, you have to rewrite the paper many times so that you can achieve the best in the English language and the flow of the paper. So here we have this manuscript assessment checklist by Leonidou 2015. It refers first to a topic, then the title, how important is the title to represent what you have been trying to publish. The content of the paper should be said in the title. The abstract, you should be careful with the abstract to contain key issues of the paper. What are the contributions and findings? Introduction should be less than 10% of the script and should include all issues about research gap, research method, research question, objectives, and the contribution of the paper in this part of the introduction. Literature review, you have to mention this hypothesis building, the different theoretical backgrounds, and you have the theoretical foundation, the theory. Here Leonidou says about the theoretical foundation and which theories you can describe and include in your paper, which is a must for a high top journal. The conceptual model also should be interesting and give new insights to the problem. The research hypothesis also should be logical and well-reasoned hypothesis. And the research methodology should include the sample, the different operationalization of the paper, the scales used in the analysis of the conceptual model, and so on. Statistical analysis, you should choose more complicated analysis like this SEM analysis that is more used in top journals like JBR, and you have to also mention the common method bias and other issues like reliability analysis, mediation analysis, and so on. Then you have the discussion on findings that should mention the previous papers on the topic and compare your findings with them. Then conclusions and implications. The implications are very important part. You can have theoretical or managerial implications. And finally, the limitations and future directions that you have to write at least one good paragraph for these limitations and another paragraph for future directions, what the author should be done. And the references, of course, you have to follow to have relevant references and correct ones. And finally, the overall, the article has been carefully edited by copy editor. You need always to send your paper to a copy editor. So I will say a few words about the International Journal of Export Marketing. So I'm editor-in-chief of this journal, which has been approved by ABS list, the CBS, the Chartered Business Schools, as ABS1 journal since June 2021, last year. So it was launched in 2015. The overarching goal is to be an outlet of exporting and other internationalization strategies, and it uses 52 scholars who review the papers, the different papers. The review process, editorial policy of the Journal of International Journal of Export Marketing is to use 3 reviewers for each paper, intention to protect the author ownership. There are 2 to 3 rounds of reviews depending on the modifications by authors, no more than 2 pages per review. Reviewers should assess the intended contribution and evaluate manuscript for intended contribution. And also, reviewers should communicate strong and weak points of the research. Regarding the review process, the author is treated friendly. Turnaround time for the first round is 6 weeks. Acceptance within 5 to 6 months. Publication of your paper 4 months after the acceptance. The citations received by the 25th of April was 207. Accepted papers published 69. There is another volume now coming out in the following few days with 5 papers. And how to publish in this journal. The journal, of course, should be readable, and 2 professional copy editors will assist the improvement of the English language. Type of articles accepted are conceptual papers, empirical ones, case studies, meta-analysis, reviews, essays, research notes, content analysis of journals, mixed methods. And finally, each paper should have an international dimension. Otherwise, it will be desk rejected. And readability, of course, is important. Okay, and finally, some recognitions of the journal is U41 in the Finnish list. It is in the USA list, Norwegian list, Polish list, ABS 1 list, and international business, and Scopus list this year. We hope that we will manage. And finally, the journal sponsors the 4th Nordic International Business and Tourism Conference this winter in November, which is an online at Zoom. Okay, thank you very much for attending this session, and welcome to publish with this International Journal of Export Marketing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor.
If you have any questions.
Yeah. We will leave to the audience to ask any questions. In fact, I like to add that those who are interested in writing for export marketing, you are welcome. And the professor has gracefully accepted my proposal that yes, some of the faculties who are interested in writing some research paper or those who are presented in this conference can elaborate it and follow the advice given by Dr. Daphnis to improvise the paper and send it to him. He is very cooperative and he will be giving you a lot of guidance. And you can send the same the paper to him. So this is my suggestion. So this is one of the avenues. He has gracefully accepted our proposal, and my humble request that you can write some papers for him, and you can see the difference when he will make you develop the paper to great extent. So over to the audience, if they want to ask any questions, you can ask, or you can write down in the chat box so that it will be useful to. I'm very much thankful to you that you liked the session, which was very informative. There's, some of the authors I mentioned, Professor. Very insight session, sir. This is one person has mentioned, very informative. The other professor who has presented the paper is mentioned. So we are very much grateful to you. In case if you have any queries, how to publish in the journal which is where he is in chief editor, we can definitely send him your research paper. And believe me, he'll guide you. He will not reject you on the desk like others, faculty does it, or chief editor, they do it. He'll go minutely and give you suggestions where to improve.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Dr. Daphnis Koudonaris, sir, for this informative and extensive session. The session, as sir mentioned, will help us to add more to our knowledge on writing paper publications, and it will benefit us greatly. We'd like to thank you for your time, and we are looking forward to more such interactions with you in the future, sir.
Okay, thank you very much indeed for all your support, and all the best for this conference.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We look forward to see you in India soon.
I hope so. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you for sparing your time. Thank you, sir.
Hi, Professor.
Hi, how are you, sir? Welcome.
Good.
I got relieved. Nice to see you, sir.
Yeah, same.
Old friend, Dr. Justin Paul. He is a chief editor a listed journal called International Journal of Consumer Studies, which is released publications. He's like Daphnis, is also very cooperative and have affinity for Indian authors. And he encourages Indian authors to improvise the paper. That I can assure you. And in fact, it was my great honor to have him sometime back, about before Corona. He came to India, he came to our campus, and he addressed our PhD scholars. And that was a great learning for them. So I welcome you, sir. I know it is there in the US at 5:30 a.m. I'm sorry, I apologize for the
No, it's not my
yeah,
time.
yeah, but at the same time, we welcome you over to the Recon committee. We'd like to formally introduce you, and then you can go ahead with your presentation, sir. Yes, sir. Who is?
Yes, sir. I will be taking over. First and foremost, thank you, sir, for gracing us with your presence. I'd like to introduce our next panel member, Dr. Justin Paul, sir, to provide more valuable insights on writing paper for publication. As sir mentioned, Dr. Justin Paul, sir, is a professor at University of PR, San Juan, and the editor-in-chief of the International Journal of Consumer Studies. He's also an associate editor in the Journal of Business Research, which is a European management journal. Sir holds honorary titles as Distinguished Professor with 3 reputed universities, including IMK and SIBM Pune. We are thoroughly graced by your presence, sir. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you for this invitation. Can you hear me and can you see me?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let me see if I can share my PowerPoint. All right, so I've been asked to talk about writing or developing systematic literature review articles. So in general, Daphne's talked about publications, and I can also throw some light on publishing in international journals in general. And but my specific topic that Professor Srivastava has asked me to talk about is literature review. Yeah, I got only 30 minutes, so I will try to go faster, and I will also try to give you some glimpses of how to write a paper and how to write a literature review and different types of literature review papers. And in the beginning itself, let me tell you that in case if you want to download my research papers, it's all freely downloadable on my website, drjustinpaul.com. If you want to learn how to write classic research paper, the first step is to read classic research papers. So all my classic research papers are freely downloadable on my website, drjustinpaul.com. It's a voluntary service that I'm offering for all my budding authors or all my researchers, all the researcher community, free downloadable from my website, drjustinpaul.com. Please download and read my articles in case if you are a beginner, if you are in the nascent stage of your research career or academic career. Okay, so why I am talking about today and what is my background and who am I to talk about this topic, today's topic, with authority and authenticity. I do serve as editor-in-chief of International Journal of Consumer Studies, a journal with second maximum submissions in the field of marketing and consumer research in the world, with over 2,000 submissions in 365 days. And I have served as lead managing editor for special issues for International Business Review and Journal of Business Research and such kind of journals. And they are special issue for literature review articles. And I also serve as editor, associate editor with a couple of other journals. And in the past, I served with some other associate editor roles in different other journals too. So life is hectic, but each and every of this work experience gives me some insights, ideas, information, and I learn. It's a learning process. Life is a learning process. Every job that we do is a learning process, and we learn new things, new insights in the process. And my topic for today's talk is also developed based on my own experience as an author, as a reviewer, as a researcher, and as an editor. For example, a subject advances when studies are designed in a way that adds value based on the findings of prior studies. For example, if you look at the article on Art of Writing Literature Review, Paul and Criado. So this is 2020 article. It gives you a lot of information about how to write a classic literature review, how to write an impactful, acceptable literature review in 7 categories. It classifies literature reviews into different categories, different types of reviews and all those kind of things. And literature review writing a literature review paper is an art. It can also be called as art and science. And we also came out with another article called SPAR for SLR in the year 2021, which was published in International Journal of Consumer Studies. And these 2 articles gives you a lot of ideas on how to develop a classic literature review article. Purpose of a review article is to provide new ideas and directions in order to guide researchers to undertake novel research instead of doing recycled type of research. Why do we write literature reviews? Because literature review should lead to providing new ideas for research instead of doing recycled type of research. For example, many people do recycled type of research. Someone is doing research in American context, others will imitate that in Indian context, and they will try to publish it. And this is not a good idea. And I would say that you should have something original, something unique, something magnifying in your research work. So if you want to write a literature review, classic literature review, this is the most cited guiding and protocol citing article on literature review, Art of Writing Literature Review by Paul and Criado. And this has got 350 citations within 1.5 years. A lot of people use this as a benchmark guiding article to learn and to understand thumb rules of literature review these days. This is available from drjustinpaul.com. And topic selection, any type of research paper, it is an empirical paper or a conceptual paper or literature review paper, topic selection is very important. And here you should have a topic which has novelty, which is important and which is relevant. And you can look at this on Google Scholar, how many other papers are on the same topic, the same objective, and with the same methodology and same thing. So you should distinguish your paper from the existing papers. Editors and reviewers do not want to consider reviews on topics when there is a comprehensive review that is already available. Yeah, so literature review, when you write a literature review, what the first thing you have to look at is that how many other literature reviews are existing or available on the same topic. So this is important. For example, social entrepreneurship, there are 6 or 7 literature review articles on social entrepreneurship. There is no scope for writing another literature review on social entrepreneurship. So you have to look at how many are available and how many are not available, and accordingly you have to develop. Yeah, I already mentioned about service recovery. Service recovery, there are a couple of literature reviews available on service recovery. So there is no scope to write another review on service recovery. So when there is a review available on the same topic, there is no scope to write another review. Journal selection criteria. Web of Science So CI, impact factor 1 plus above, ABS 2 and above, ABDC B and above. These are all journal selection criteria when you want to write a literature review paper. So I would discard FT journals only criteria. That is a faulty criteria. You cannot have that criteria when you have a when you want to write a literature review article. ABDC A and A star, Scopus. So Scopus is like a vast ocean. Scopus is accepted only in developing countries. If you go to developed countries, they never consider Scopus at the time of faculty recruitment or promotion or anything, because Scopus has thousands of journals. Scopus is like InterScience. InterScience has thousands of journals. Never try to publish in those kind of companies that take 1 year time to publish a paper online after they accept. The best companies, publishing companies, are Elsevier, Wiley, Springer, Taylor and Francis, Sage, Oxford University Press. They are all the best companies, and Emerald comes after that. And, so we should try to publish in better publishing companies' journals. It is also important. And journal selection criteria, you can use Web of Science as a journal selection criteria. Web of Science is a reliable criteria. Web of Science is journals which are screened very well, but Scopus has some journals which are not considered as internationally acceptable. And another criteria probably you can use as part of your journal selection criteria in a classic literature review article is journals with impact factor 1 and above. Or the next criteria, another one, but one of these criteria you have to use. Another one is UK ABS 2 and above journals. So these are different criteria. One of these criteria you can use as part of your journal selection criteria. Article search criteria, your keywords in title, abstract or keywords, your keywords in article text or abstract. These are important things. Paul and Criado, Art of Writing Literature Review. Yeah. Art of Writing Literature Review. This is important. So here, article search criteria. When you want to write a literature review, it looks like, I'm not sure what is the audience of today's program, because if the audience is PhD students and faculty members, you will understand what I'm talking about. If audience consists of MBA students, this topic is not suitable for MBA students. So what I've been asked and MBA students topic. So
they're all faculty, sir.
Okay.
Faculties and research professors.
Okay, all right. So article search criteria. Article search criteria, when you want to write a literature review article, article search criteria is important. How do you search article? You need to use keywords. You need to decide your keywords, and your keywords, and so you should have at least 5 keywords to search articles, and you should use this keyword to search articles on Web of Science or some platform like that. And you can search on Scopus if you don't have access to Web of Science, and then you get a lot of articles on the same topic, and then download them and then read them and use a criteria that one of your keywords should be in article text or article abstract to screen those articles. And if you get so many articles, you can use another criteria. Your keyword should be in the abstract or the keywords of the other article that you're downloading. This is also important. So use one of these criteria. Criteria 1, I mentioned your keywords in title, abstract, or keywords of the other articles that you download. Or criteria 2 is your keywords in article text or abstract. This is important criteria. And the art of writing literature review. This is important, and this is a very important criteria, and Yeah, use your keywords in article, text, or abstract, or the first criteria, your keywords in title, abstract, or keywords. The difference is that in the criteria 2, I have eliminated here your keywords in the keywords of other articles. Your keywords can be in either article, text, or abstract. So you need to have, and you can use subjectivity criteria and objectivity criteria. Objectivity criteria need to be used based on specific parameters, like one of these criteria. Subjectivity is based on your reading, your discretion, you can include the articles. Experience sharing as editor. Since I've served as editor of several literature review articles, I will tell you, when I edited International Business Review, out of 72 submission, 20 did not have a journal selection criteria. And some of the reference list included books, local journals, etc. Okay, so now I'm going to give you title, topic of and how do you actually decide the title of your systematic literature review article. Look at this title. Look at these 3 titles. Is there something common in these 3 titles? What is common in these 3 titles is a review and research agenda. The title, the extension of the title. For example, Mass Teach Marketing, a review and research agenda. Brand equity research, a review and research agenda. International franchising, a review and research agenda. This is important. So, yeah. So why this title? What is common in this title? A research agenda. A research agenda has to be there in the review article, because we develop a review article to provide ideas for future research. That means research agenda. Okay. We develop a literature review article to provide, to set future research agenda. This is important. And that is why research agenda should be part of your review article title. Brand equity research, a review and future research agenda. International franchising, a review and research agenda. In all these research, all these title, research agenda is outlined. Yeah, research agenda is the objective of writing a literature review. Sample size and time period. At least 50 articles to be reviewed. It could be 50 to 500 depending upon the number of articles. Time period of publication to be included, minimum 10 years to maximum of 50 years. Yeah. So here, as a thumb rule, in a classic literature review article, you should have at least 50 articles. Some exception can be 40, 45. It could be 50 to 500 depending upon the number of articles. Time period of publication to be included, minimum 10 years to a maximum of 50 years. This is another parameter. Yeah, so time period of publications in a literature review article can be developed based on the articles, and this time period to be included can be last 10 years, otherwise last 25 years, last 30 years, or it can be 50 years too. Findings. Next point is, in a literature review article, you should focus on findings of prior studies. If you do not focus on findings of prior studies, your article will not be very useful. And a table need to be created to highlight studies with similar or same findings. research gaps and directions for future research. This is very important. And you can use a framework to write or structure your literature review. This is also important. And at least 20% of the weightage in your literature review article should be given for directions for future research. It is also important. Ideally, literature review should have information about what are the widely used theories, widely used methods, widely used widely used theories, widely used constructs. All these are important. So all these need to be all these need to be discussed. Okay, now I'm classifying type of literature reviews. And the first one is, I defined it as structured review articles mainly because it has got a lot of information synthesized and structured in tables. And for example, if you look at this article on international franchising, a literature review and research agenda published in Journal of Business Research in 2018. So this shows that this article has got 10 tables, and those 10 tables are very carefully synthesized and drafted with many hours of work putting in it, and lot of time dedicated to it. And so if you look at the tables in this article, you will understand that. And in case if you don't have access to download it, download from drjustinpaul.com, because these are my papers. So it is called as structured because it is structured, it is synthesized and structured in the form of 10 tables, not just 1 or 2 tables. Some people submit literature review just with 1 or 2 tables. That's not good enough. That is not considered as structured. Okay, you need to have at least 6-7 useful tables in a literature review. It can be 10. So this article, this literature review on international franchising, published in Journal of Business Research by Rosado and Serrano. Rosado Serrano was my PhD student. And Rosado Serrano and myself, we have 10 tables in this. Each table covers widely used methods, widely used constructs, widely used variables, widely used theories, all those. Auto framework, this is another one. Framework-based review. Framework-based review. Yeah, framework-based review is another type of review article. That means a literature review can be developed using a existing framework, or you develop a framework, and framework here, I mean typology. So framework-based review, for example, myself and Benito, we developed ADO framework. ADO stands for Antecedents, Decision, and Outcome Framework. And ADO framework can be used to structure and to develop, to synthesize the entire literature review. ADO framework was developed and published in 2018 in Asia Pacific Business Review by Paul and Benito. And TCCM framework is another framework which I was instrumental in developing with my colleague. And TCCM framework has been used in several literature review articles to structure literature review articles. And one of this framework, otherwise Callahan developed 4W framework to develop literature review articles. These are all important, and these are all and I would say that framework-based review is a very useful type of literature review. Theory-based review. Theory-based review, a review can be developed based on theories. And for example, role of self-determination theory in marketing science, a review and research agenda, European Management Journal. Institutional theory in international business, theory of planned behavior in entrepreneurship, agency theory in franchising. So here, what we are reviewing is how a specific theory has been applied in a domain in a specific subject field. For example, role of self-determination theory in marketing science. So this is a review. Institutional theory in international business. Theory of planned behavior in entrepreneurship. Okay. So a review article can be developed in a similar way. For example, Coop and Gassman, this is another type of literature review called narrative type of literature review. Narrative type means it is more like descriptive, not much information synthesized and structured in a table format. But sometimes, so if you have this kind of article, and if you give an honorary doctorate to some editors, like I have seen that Academy of Management editor got honorary doctorate from Switzerland, International Business Review got honorary doctorate from Finland, and in the next year, articles from those universities get published in such journals. So sometimes there is corruption in academia in some extent in some journals, in some universities. So some of them try to influence, and political type corruption is everywhere. Like in Kerala, I'm originally from Kerala. The chief minister and home minister come from same town. And even in India's case, chief minister and home minister come from same state. So that kind of politics is everywhere. And in America too, when Trump was the president, his son-in-law was cabinet minister. So that kind of politics is everywhere. So in academia also, I see that kind of politics, but you need to have minimum stuff. You need to have an article without mistakes, without problems, because if you submit an article with typos, mistakes, no full stop, no commas, even if you give an honorary doctorate to an editor, they cannot help and they cannot publish your article because they will lose their job if they accept an article with such mistakes. So it is your responsibility to refine an article 5 times, 10 times, and then make a goodwill with the journals and review papers for journals and build a rapport with the journals. And then probably journals will consider your papers, provided you have the minimum standard. But if you don't have the minimum standard, even if you give an honorary doctorate to an editor, he cannot help you to publish your article. But minimum standard, ensuring minimum standard is a prerequisite. And if you ensure minimum standard, sometimes even if you write narrative literature review, I have seen narrative literature review in Journal of Management. Journal of Management is an FT 50 leading journal, even some journals like that. But of course, the one of the author may be prominent author or somebody who is having very, very, very influential and all those kind of things. Sometimes it happens that way in some journals, not in every journals. Some journals it happens because that is the life itself is based on a lot of factors, and it happens sometimes in some universities also. It happens in recruitment. I have seen European universities, they recruit their own PhD students as faculty members everywhere in Europe in breeding. It's like insider trading, Type 5 bibliometric review. Bibliometric review is another type of literature review. There are free softwares like WOS Viewer, SiteSpace, and those kind of free softwares to carry out bibliometric review. And software generate nice figures which help to score presentation dimensions. That is advantage of bibliometric review. But bibliometric review's limitation is that it doesn't cover theory, it doesn't cover method, it doesn't cover constructs. Meta-analysis or meta-analytical review is another type of literature review. The effectiveness of celebrity endorsement, a meta-analysis published in Journal of Academic Marketing Science. A meta-analysis on customer engagement published in International Journal of Consumer Studies. Such meta-analysis papers are classic examples for, classic examples for carrying out meta-analysis. You have to read specimen paper in each category of literature review if you want to develop a specific category of literature review. This is very important. And there are also software like Listler, Metaphor, Meta-Essential, Meta-Excel, Stata to carry out meta-analysis paper. Meta-analysis means it's a literature review of quantitative studies that has a cause and effect relationship, that has a testable relationship, that has tested some kind of relationship, in their studies, and then you synthesize the information from those studies and you carry out the meta-analysis. Review with theoretical or testable proposition. Yeah, so these are called conceptual reviews. For a classic conceptual review is my article with Dr. Eric Maas from Indiana University in America. It's titled Toward a 7P Framework for International Marketing, published in Journal of Strategic Marketing. This has got about 200 citations within 2 years, which is a very big number in 2 years' time in any articles. And review focusing on theory development. This is more or less similar to the previous one I talked about, 7P Framework for International Marketing. And this one falls in the same category. So what I would like to focus here is that all articles in Academy of Management Review and AMS Review falls in this criteria. So they publish this type of article, and those are the journals dedicated to publish conceptual reviews, or in other words, these are the reviews focusing on theory development.
Professor, can we quickly summarize? If you don't
Yes, I'm summarizing. I'm done. So these are my last slide is for you, is that I would recommend you to read these two articles if you want to come out with a very classic literature review. One is Art of Writing Literature Review, what we know and what we need to know, published in International Business Review. And another one is Scientific Procedures and Rationale for Systematic Literature Review, acronyms PAR for SLR, published in International Journal of Consumer Studies. And if time permits, I can take a few questions. Otherwise, we can wind up. Thank you very much.
We have the email ID of Justin Paul, and he is very helpful in nature. And I can assure you that if you send him a mail, he will reply you within 24 hours. That is, that's what I learned from him. So my humble request to all of you, all the researchers, faculties, because this group consists of only faculties and the research students. They are not MBA students. There are very few who are operating recon committee members. As you know very well that they are helping for this conference. But all the faculty members, I humbly request them to write a note, a mail to Justin Paul. He's very helpful. And he doesn't just reject, reject is not his habit. He will give you why he is rejecting it. That is the beauty of his editorship. And I'd like to thank you very much, sir, for sparing your time in spite of, being there at 5:30 a.m. You're here. Thank you very much, sir. And the audience have liked it very much. I got a comment also from Dr. Kulkarni. He said, thank you very much, Dr. Paul, for wonderful sessions. And please give a big hand to him. All of you, please give a big hand. On the reaction chat, you can also mention the clap. So that will be great, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Professor.
Yeah.
Thank you, Professor Srivastava.
Yeah, it was very insightful, sir. Uma said very nice. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So keep working hard. And if you have any questions or any help, send me an email. Okay.
That will
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Justin Paul, sir, for this knowledgeable and enriching session. And as RK sir mentioned, our audience has been thoroughly captivated from the beginning of your presentation towards the very end. I'm sure we all will be greatly benefited from all those insights and the resources which you have mentioned. And we'll begin looking at writing literature review, as you mentioned, as both an art and science. Thank you for your time, and we hope to have more such collaborations with you.
You can find my lecture. The same lecture is available on YouTube, youtube.com/Dr. Justin Paul. So you can watch the same video on YouTube in case if you want to. Just youtube.com/Dr. Justin Paul. You will find the same video. Okay. And you can find me on LinkedIn if there is something else. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Over to you, Aryaman.
Thank you, sir. That was such an insightful session. Our next dignitary is Dr. Michelle VG, Professor of Management and Associate Dean at College of Business, Economics and Computing at University of Wisconsin, Parkside, USA. She has taught business strategy, global business, cross-cultural management, global and multicultural marketing, and other business courses for more than 20 years. She has been appointed to an AACSB International Board of Directors for Associate Deans worldwide. Prior to her academic career, Dr. Ghee was successful marketing manager at IBM and AT&T and received several sales and marketing awards and earned promotions at these multinational corporations. Today, she would be enlightening us on global challenges confronting universities and students around the world. Handing over the mic to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much. I hope that everybody can hear me okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you.
First of all, let me welcome you and thank you once again, ma'am, from bottom of my heart for this conference. You have always been a pillar to this conference and very supportive, and you have never said no. And very, very nice of you, ma'am. We welcome you at this platform. So over to you, ma'am. We are all
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It is my honor to be the distinguished guest speaker today at the conference. As Dr. Srivastava says, we have worked together collaboratively for many years now. And he has also been instrumental in working with me and my colleagues at the University of Wisconsin-Parkside in terms of developing essentially what we could call exchange agreements between our university and several universities in India, especially in Mumbai. So having said that, thank you, Dr. Srivastava, for inviting me and for continuing to work with us. It is truly our pleasure. We have hosted Dr. Srivastava at our university. He has given guest lectures and talked to our marketing students, as well as having meetings with us as administrators. I should point out as well, first of all, where is the University of Wisconsin-Parkside? Well, I can tell you quite proudly that we are strategically located between Chicago and Milwaukee. I myself am originally from Chicago, and where I live is right on the state line between Chicago, Illinois and Kenosha, Wisconsin. And I can get to downtown Chicago, which for any of you who have visited there is called the Loop. All right. And I can get to the famous Magnificent Mile, North Michigan Avenue, faster than a lot of my family and friends that still live in the city of Chicago because of traffic patterns. So we are technically my campus in the Chicago Metropolitan Statistical Area. I should also point out that I am the dean now for the College of Business, Economics, and Computing. And we have the largest undergraduate major, which is business management. And we have several of the largest. In the top 10, we have about 7 of the top 10 majors on the entire campus are in our College of Business, Economics, and Computing. We also have the largest number of international students. And the international students are primarily in the various business disciplines, the MBA program that we have, and also our Master of Science in Computer and Information Systems. So we have been global in my college for decades now. And I've been to 43 countries on 4 continents. And in most of those countries, I have either presented papers, conducted workshops, taught classes, met with administrators. And then whenever you travel internationally, you always want to learn a bit more, as much as you can, about the culture and the business customs and seeing the wonderful historic sites. Some of my colleagues from India, and I have several of them who are my faculty, who will tell me, Michelle, you've been to more states in India than we have, and we're from India. So I've been from far north in India, I haven't gone to Kashmir yet. I want to get there, all right? But I've been very close to there, and then all the way down to Kerala as well. And usually I am in Mumbai. So having said that, been going to India every year until the pandemic hit. I was going every year, at least once a year, for about 5 or 6 years straight. And I look forward to coming back to India. All right, we've got vaccines.
You're welcome.
Now. Thank you so much, because we've got these vaccines, and let's just hope and pray, which leads me into what are the global challenges confronting colleges and universities today, because there are several, and COVID-19 is still an issue. We find that there are still, and you can see the global news, some of you may have experienced this yourself directly. There are still occasional shutdowns of sometimes entire countries or cities within countries. We go back and forth in terms of, in my campus, I happen to be sitting in my office, and I have my virtual background as part of our campus. We have a lovely campus. And so you can't see all what's happening, but however, we've had to wear masks. And it was not until about 3 weeks ago that masks became optional. And you will still see a number of people wearing masks because the very, very young are not able to get vaccinated yet. And so what happens is that their parents and caretakers, et cetera, are trying to protect them, little infants all the way up to about 5 or 6, years old, who can't get vaccinated yet. And then there's still people who are very vulnerable, their immune system's low, and they wear a mask, just to be sure. On my campus, if somebody is sick, even if they have not tested positive, if they have not even taken the test, if they're sick and they have various COVID-like symptoms, then they're asked to stay home, all right? Because we're trying to, contain the spread. Another thing that happened because of COVID is all around the world, practically all universities had to go into online mode, online instruction. And for many universities, that was brand new. Now, I can tell you here in my College of Business, Economics, and Computing, we already have a lot of online offerings. In fact, we just launched an online MBA. We've already had a face-to-face, in-person, on-campus MBA program for decades now. And we launched an online version in 2018 that proved to be quite fortuitous. It's AACSB International accredited, and it is affordable. And the other thing is as well, is that our faculty, business faculty, already trained in terms of online instruction, and all of our online MBA courses have to go through what's called the Quality Matters Review, which is an external review of the quality of and the formatting, the delivery of all of our online classes. So we were fully prepared, and that worked out just great for us. Many other units and disciplines on campus, they were in all around the world, even in business schools all around the world. There are many that just did not have as many online offerings, and they had to go online, as all of you must surely be aware, and go online, like that right overnight. And now there's hybrid courses as well. And in the United States, the United States government had already stipulated for many years that international students have to take their courses in person, face-to-face, with the exception of just one course per semester that they could be allowed to be online. Well, of course, that changed overnight. And then once the vaccine became available, now it's back to the international students have to be in online, in-person classes. And for right now, the United States government is allowing our international students to be in hybrid courses as well. And the hybrid courses have to be essentially like 51% or more in person, all right, with just a few classes that would be online. So we know about COVID-19. I found out recently as well, I was at an AACSB International conference just earlier this week. I just returned yesterday. And I found out from some other colleagues from around the world, I was talking with some Eastern European faculty members who said that their students were not allowed into the United States because They were supposed to be coming for, special exchange program, and they were fully vaccinated. However, they had the vaccine that was from Russia, which they said that the World Health Organization and the United States government certainly did not honor, all right, because that had not been tested thoroughly and approved. And so they actually ended up being delayed and had to get the vaccine, one of those vaccines that's approved by the United States, which is primarily the Pfizer vaccine or Moderna. And right now in the United States is not only the full dosage for Moderna, it's 2 shots, I believe, and then Johnson, it's 1. And then Pfizer is 2. Well, we already are on boosters. We have 2 boosters now that are approved. Most of us who are in education and academia, most of us and in corporate America have not only the full dosage of initial shots, we also have at least 1 booster. And now I'm scheduled to travel on business to Germany and Italy in June. So I'm thinking I better get my 2nd booster. All right, just to be careful. Geopolitical conflict is another challenge. I mean, we can't say enough in terms of what's happening as it relates to Ukraine, and the whole world is watching. And when we talk about higher education, we have many students here in the United States, for example, who are from Ukraine and Russia, and we have students and faculty who are in Ukraine, and hopefully they're out by now. All right. A number of them had a very difficult time, trying to depart. And so the security of our students internationally is a concern. And then the degree completion. There are some American universities who are saying, well, we will accept credits, and understand that from Ukraine, the universities aren't typically up and running at this point. Some of them bombed out. How do they even get their records? All right, to verify what courses they've taken, what else they need to do. Do they have the prerequisites, et cetera? And so part of the responsibility as educators is to develop the future leaders for the world, because we don't just think in terms of our nationalism, our where we live and which country we're a resident of. We're all part of a global village, and we have global responsibilities to each other. I mean, COVID didn't ask, are you from, Russia or India or United States? COVID didn't even ask permission. It just appeared, all right, and then just went global. All right, and that's just one, example. We can talk in terms of the environment, all right, and what's happening as it relates to that. And there are global aspects, for that as well. I mean, the wind blows, there's wind currents, we're all part of the same planet that we need to preserve. And so as we are educating our students, we need to be very careful in terms of trying to ingrain within them, if you will, this responsibility to be global leaders. And no matter what their discipline, their major, or their career may be, they need to understand the responsibility to the planet and to each other. And that also includes having global peace, not war, figuring out ways to mediate and resolve conflicts without killing thousands and thousands of people, and without just totally just decimating, particular countries. And at any point in time, there can be 40, 50 global conflicts or conflicts on our planet. Ukraine and Russia is not the only conflict that's going on. And many of you are aware of that. And by the way, that leads me into another area in terms of global challenges. For many of us that are part of this conference, we already recognize the importance of diversity and equity and inclusion. And now this being added to DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, B, the letter B, which stands for belonging. And we have a responsibility in terms of cross-culturalism, in terms of global peace, in terms of working together collaboratively with scholars in different countries, to expand upon our knowledge base. We have a responsibility to do that in a peaceful way. And we actually have an opportunity with our students to bestow that upon them. And I strongly encourage all of you, if you have not yet, to travel as soon as it's safe for you to do so, and to see other cultures, see other countries. I was talking to a couple of our students from Mumbai just yesterday, who were telling me that they're planning, during the summer to see more of the United States when they have like maybe fewer classes that they're taking. And that's wonderful, because just as in India, we have different states and they have, different sites to see, different history, different culture. Now that's similar to India. I will say, just as an aside, I did learn when I was in India that your states are even more diverse, all right, that I could cross the state line and it's a different language, can be different cuisine, can be different, modes of dressing, the attire. And it's just amazing to me how diverse India is. Well, there are still some countries that are more homogeneous in terms of their population. There are still countries that have conflicts with subcultures. And, even in India, there's some conflicts in terms of some of the subcultures. There's certainly conflicts here in the United States. I would imagine there is no one in this conference who did not hear about the George Floyd, what has been called, the courts have adjudicated a murder, all right, by a policeman who's in prison right now because, he rested his knee on the man's neck and he couldn't breathe and stayed there for 10 minutes on video. All right, so the whole world could see. And I bring that up because a part of the geopolitical conflict, and again, it being way larger than just Ukraine and Russia, but there were protests literally all around the world about the George Floyd incident. And that's part of the social unrest that our planet is experiencing. And that there, for many years now, the gap between the have and have-nots has actually widened in many countries around the world. And again, this is where education can come to bear, because there is a positive correlation between, the amount of education and credentials that you have and your quality of life and your income levels. And so we know that as scholars, we need to impress that upon our students and encourage them to always to do their best. And again, to get out and see the world. The world is just fascinating. Every one of the 43 countries I've been to has tremendous beauty. Every one of them, all of them. And all of them have, like this rich history. Now, some of you have much more history than we do in the United States. We're considered to be, still in the childhood stage almost. All right, we're only 200 years old or so. Okay, and then you can imagine, how old India is, how old China. Look at the countries and civilizations in Africa, which is the cradle of civilization and where humankind began. All right, and how old they are. And so there's so much, to learn from that as well. Let me talk a bit about the younger generation of students, because in this country, we've looked a lot at generations. So we had, of course, the baby boomers. When there's generations above the baby boomers, most of them are retired. Some of the baby boomers are retiring now, but others, that's basically between 1946 and 1964. A number of them are still alive, and I'm a baby boomer. So not only alive, but still working and still thriving. all right, and in a administrative position as well as being an academic. However, then we have this younger generation. First, it was the huge millennial generation, and I have a millennial who is now a young budding investment management attorney. But now we have the Gen Z who will tell you, well, we're different from the millennials. We have our own characteristics. But I'll tell you, between the millennials and the Gen Z, there's still some similarities, part of which is they want to know the why. Why is it that we do things the way that we do? Why are you teaching me this? What is the importance and relevance of it? What is the societal impact of this? What does it mean to me in terms of making a difference in the world? A lot of the younger generation are very much asking, generations plural, are asking these questions and demanding answers. The other thing is that, you know, they want to know when they go to work, what kind of flexibility will they have? See, the people have gotten used to working from home, and some people really like that a lot. All right, so then trying to get them back into the office can be a challenge. And I know here in the United States, there are major corporations who announce, okay, we're going to have everybody back on, you know, say it was, we broke out in 2020. In 2021, there are corporations already saying in January, oh, everybody's coming back. Well, needless to say, everybody did not come back, and most people weren't even vaccinated. So they put it off to the summer. Then they put it off to the following winter. Then they put it off, you know, to the following year. And there's still many, if not most, corporations that are at least in hybrid mode, at least for those positions where, you know, it allows, you know, that kind of work to be done remotely. And it appears as though the ideal situation from many workers' perspective is either working 3 days on here, I'll talk university on campus or in a corporate office, and 2 days at home. And it appears as though they actually are looking more at 3 days remote and then 2 days in the office. A lot of the employees are thinking that's enough time for us to interact with each other in person, just 2 days a week. And notice, before the pandemic, there are many corporations, as well as in universities, and, you know, since we're academics, I discussed that, who just didn't believe, how could you do quality, you know, and productivity and have all of that happening and people are sitting at home? Well, the pandemic proved that we can do that. All right. Corporations that thought surely we'll fail, we can't thrive, are making tremendous profits. They're doing quite well. People are very productive. And it is interesting that many of us who worked from home or still working from home find that we're working even more, longer hours, and even harder than what we did when we were in the office. And for some people, their computer's sitting right in their kitchen or where they pass by it in their house all the time. Where does the differentiation, the distinction between work and between your own personal life, your family life, where does that begin and end? So mental health and mental well-being for our students and for our workers in the workplace, those are becoming huge issues now too, just the stress and the strain of it all. And the last thing I'm going to discuss are our future jobs. I conducted our college advisory board meeting just last night. We had an expert that came in from the global corporation called Manpower, and they talked about the future of jobs. And they were saying that one of the skills that students, workers, managers need to have and continuously improve upon is change management, because change is constant. And the pandemic demonstrated for us change can happen overnight. Ukraine's an example of change that happened overnight. All right, and on a grand scale. And what do we do in order not only to survive, but to thrive? So change management skills are becoming increasingly important. And it was pointed out that it shouldn't just be one course or one workshop that someone would take on change management, that it needs to be embedded within the courses that we teach in terms of how do we, handle change. And obviously, technology has become just critically essential, if I may say that. All right. And more of our decision making, needs to be fact-based, data-driven. We need to have access to technology that is functional. I don't know about any of you, but I know even here in the United States, and I happen, like I said, to be in my office, there are times that there were internet blips or the computer, the sound wouldn't work, the video went out. And I have my technicians to check this morning just to make sure that my sound and my video was working. And so, this is the world that we live in. And so I would say to all of you that we need to, first of all, understand all of these challenges and more, and that the challenges evolve over time. Some challenges tend to be more persistent, as for example, that gap between the have and the have-nots, the gap between those who are highly educated versus those who are not. There's a major study that was done that said on a global basis that in the kindergarten through high school stage, that a number of students, if not the majority, have essentially lost 2 years of education, because the schools tried to keep it going, but a number of them weren't equipped for online instruction and quality instruction either, and an online environment. And so there are students who we will see who have fallen behind and may not have all the skills that other students would have had in the past. And depending upon our admission standards, that can even block them access to our universities because they're not prepared, and it's not their fault. It's through no fault of their own. But from a global perspective, we need to be concerned about that, because what happens in India impacts the United States, impacts China, impacts Kenya and Nigeria, impacts Brazil, impacts United Kingdom, and we could go on and on and on, because we are all interrelated today. And we need to truly, to understand that. There are those that say globalization is threatened because of the geopolitics, because of concerns about, COVID. And what I would say to you is that globalization has to continue. That is through our exchange of ideas and insights and knowledge that we are able to progress as human beings on this planet. And the cure for cancer could come from anywhere, or from a combination of, and that's as an example, a combination of researchers from several different countries. I know in this country, there's now a concern politically and from our government in terms of working with scholars who are from China and or in China, and certainly scholars from Russia and or in Russia. Well, that impacts all of us. We've got to learn to move past this, because we rob ourselves of our own evolution as human beings when we can't learn to live in peace. Doesn't mean we have to agree about everything, but my goodness, let's not just kill each other. All right, let's figure out, how to get along. And so, Professor Srivastava, I have not watched all of the time, but I hope that I went within the 30 minutes.
No,
because I'm done.
Your lecture was wonderful, ma'am. It was very insightful. And this couple of points which was emerged very well, and you have talked very relevant because the issues. And I'm very much thankful to you for sparing your time from your busy schedule, especially when you have become the dean of a large university. So it is not easy, but still, because of your love and affection, towards India and towards us. And you have given time. I'm very much thankful to you. And I look forward to your visit in the month of January, 6th and 7th January to India and be our guest.
Yes, and thank you so much. And by the way, I learned about Namaste because I have to tell you, because people were laughing when my very first trip to India almost 10 years ago. People were, Namaste, and I thought from the American perspective, and I'm a cross-cultural, global kind of professor, right? I thought it was from the American TV series Lost, because they were lost on an island and they were always talking about Namaste. So I thought, oh, in India, they must be watching the Lost TV series. And then I was, of course, told, no, Namaste comes from India. We do this is where they got it from and what it means. And that's what I mean about our growth and development as well, because we learn and grow from that and from interacting with each other. So again, it has been my honor and my distinct pleasure to be with you today.
So thank you very much, ma'am. We look forward to your visit to India in the
Thank you.
month of January. Over to Recon, our young Recon committee members would like to thank you.
Thank you
Yes, sir.
so much. So I will leave at
One
this
second, ma'am.
point.
Over to Recon committee members. Would like
Yes,
to
sir.
thank.
Yeah. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your insightful session. And we are obliged to have you on board for this for the event. And we hope to see you in person in the next year so that we could connect better and learn more and more from you. Thank you, ma'am, for this session, and we'll be grateful to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank
And
you,
I
ma'am.
applaud all of you for what you do.
Thank you.
So I will leave now.
Okay, yes.
Thank
Sure,
you.
Thank you,
Namaste. Yes.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Over to you, sir. Recon committee. Darshan.
Yes, sir. I'll just share the screen. So I would like to say that once again, I'll just share this. Yeah, sir, I think in the end, we are already on time. I think it's 9 we have crossed the timeline. So I think in the end, I would say that, I think it was a great day, sir. Things went very smoothly, and we are thankful to everyone, all the participants who have attended this session. And we hope to see you with the same enthusiasm tomorrow as well. The timings remain the same. And also tomorrow we have more insightful sessions. We have Mr. Vivek Mendonca and Professor Raju Mulye coming in. And the highlight of tomorrow would be Shri Vikas Chandra Rastogi sir, who is the Principal Secretary of Higher Education of Maharashtra. He would be coming in and sharing his thoughts. So we would request you all to be present tomorrow as well and maintain the decorum during the entire event, sir. Sir, anything that you would like to add finally?
The prize will be given between 8:30 to 9 o'clock. So I will request all of you to be present. The certificates will be given during that time. So in case you have presented already earlier, but you have to be there tomorrow, and so that we can give the certificate on the same day. That is our endeavor done by the Recon committee members, young Recon committee members. They worked for last 10 days. They were working overnight, day and night, to see that everything goes well. And I'm very much thankful to all the participants for actively participating, all the faculty members who presented. I'm very much thankful to you. And I hope we have added some values to your knowledge. Thank you very much, sir.
Also, an update.
Prakash Zatlania, I would like to add thank you to the committee. I think they were responsive to all the calls I made at all odd hours to them. And I think the whole presentation is quite flawless. I really enjoyed the last 2-3 presentations as well, and hope to join sometime tomorrow. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your kind words. And just an update, the Zoom link for tomorrow remains the same that we had shared today as well. So there will be no new link. The link remains the same, and we hope to see you all soon tomorrow. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Yes, sir.
We can log
My-
off, yeah?
Yes, sir. My colleague at Simply, you all can log off, and we'll see. We'll meet tomorrow, guys.